And as a country, I think we still have hopes in these kids and these talents to be able to start their business and try to address some of the big world's challenging problems ahead of us.
Techsauce Global, sparking innovative thoughts. Definitely one of the things that everyone is wondering about right now, especially after COVID-19, is what is going on with the ecosystem here in Thailand. And a lot of things have been going on, and we really do want to know what is the latest in terms of government support. Swadika, you're listening to the latest episode of Techsauce Global podcast. I'm Chawarat Yongjira Nonapupe, your host, and of course, one of the global content editors at Techsauce Media. Today, I'm so excited because I'm going to be able to sit and talk to a very important individual who has been at the forefront in supporting the tech ecosystem here in Thailand and also, you could say, within the region as well. So I'm so happy to introduce to our program today Dr. Chinawut Chinaprayoon, the Executive Vice President at Digital Economy Promotion Agency, or DEPA. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับสวัสดีคุณเป้คุณเป้ and the all the listeners as well. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much. I think if you are in the wongan, you could say in Thai, if you're in the the tech circle, you already know what Deepa is. But for those who may want to know more about you, can you tell a little bit about yourself and Deepa?
Yes, I am actually working in the tech startup ecosystem for the almost past 10 years. And actually going through the ups and downs of the Thai startup ecosystem for quite a while. And my current role at DEPA is a digital promotion agency in Thailand. We love to trying to bring digital transformation to the countries. So for us, a startup is one of we see startup as a catalyst for change, who can also bring transformation to our sectors. Whether you are operating in B2C space that trying to have the consumers adopting new digital technologies, or you're operating in the B2B space where you can help business across the countries, starting from very micro enterprises to large and medium ones, to be able to adopt to the new trends of the technologies and trying to use this digital technology for the new opportunities in the markets. So for us, we see a startup as a very important vehicles for the country. So that's why we're trying to work with startup starting from the early stage to the growth stage to help startup to be able to thrive in the ecosystem, and also trying to see what else startup would like us as a government agency to work upon to improve the quality of the ecosystem overall as well.
A lot. And I like how you say that you've been, in this industry for a time that, of course, you've seen it all. And, a lot of things that are happening as we talk, together today, not only in Thailand, but the rest of the world. For those who want to get an update on what's been going on here in Thailand, can you give us the latest updates on the Thai startup ecosystem?
I think it's quite challenging time, but also exciting time for us at the moment as well. Have to get you everyone's in the ecosystem already experienced the effect of the COVID. Not just only the negative effect, but also positive effect. We saw a lot of startups who can raise fund in the past few years, especially because of the the rate of adoption of digital transformation in various sectors. For example, like e-commerce or logistics, we have seen a lot of Thai startups who can raise Series A, B, or C, even C, in the past few years. I think this is quite exciting time, and we also at the during the pandemic time, it's the first time that Thailand have some unicorns,
which is amazing.
Emerge, which is amazing. We already have 5 unicorns in place. Comparing to the pre-COVID era that we have not. So quite exciting time for us, and this year actually from the Techsauce report is also indicate that we have the largest, funding yet to the ecosystem comparing to the past years. Our ecosystem is quite young, as I said. We are like even the government agency, we're starting to talk about how we can support startup just only 8 years ago. So at this time, I think it's quite challenging moments for us as well that we are in the post-COVID era, but also we are facing the global economic turndowns, which is quite something challenging for us. So as an ecosystem, it's important for us how we can unite together to create opportunities for the ecosystem, for Thai startups, and also all the stakeholders involved in this space. Being you can be government agency like us that trying to find a new economic warriors who can help Thailand to move up the value chains and help Thailand to move up our competitiveness level to be able to come up with a new S-curve for the countries or the corporates in Thailand who have a lot of interest in startup, working a lot with startup in the past 5 years, and trying to come up with a new S-curve as well. Or for the SMEs can use service from startups to be able to adopt new technologies, digital technologies to be able to transform themselves from physical world to offline world to online world, for example. So these are very important. An exciting time for us that we have our quite vibrant startup ecosystem in the country right now.
I mean, I think I'm so happy, after talking throughout the COVID-19 pandemic to various people in the industry, we've had different emotions about, everything from good to bad. And I like the fact that you name dropped our report as well. Thank you so much for mentioning the Techsauce annual report. And as you said, yeah, definitely Thailand is not it's like every other country facing the challenge of the economic downturn. But do we have any unique challenges, specific challenges that are maybe different from other countries that are facing the Thai startups right now?
Yeah. Actually, I think for the Thai ecosystem, we have quite some of the unique challenges ahead of us as well. Starting from because we are quite young ecosystem actually, comparatively we still young ecosystem compared to other countries, but we also evolve into one of the exciting ecosystem as well that you can see that a lot of corporates in Thailand right now they are investing in startup, engaging with startup, partner with startups. So in terms of how we can balancing between innovations that stem from corporates and stem from startups, how we can balance that to have them work together to one goal, which is the new S-curve for the country. That is one thing that is quite challenging for us. The second thing that we're still facing right now is the problem with the early stage funding, and also the early stage startup that we have seen actually a drop in the numbers of startup founded in the countries in the last 2 years, a couple of years. Even though we have seen a lot of deals have been done in the past few years, but in terms of the new startup found, we have seen some of the declining numbers right now. So that is some of the focus that how we can try to address the kind of problems, how we can starting to reactivate the early stage ecosystem to be able to support the long-term growth for the country, and also we can create the deal flow and the funnel for the investment is there right now. You can see that a lot of VCs they are complaining about cannot find a good deals and a good startups in the portfolio right now to invest. But the problem is how we can also try and address very problem like how we can come up with a better model to manage the early stage ecosystem. We have been actually doing that for a long time, trying to come up with for example, like trying to work with university as well to try to revamp all the research ecosystem in Thailand to be able to come up with new ideas and new, I mean, IPs, and those ideas turn into commercialization and come up with new startups, especially in the deep tech space. But the problem is, if we cannot starting to address the real problem we face in that early stage ecosystem, then we're not going to go anywhere from here. So that is something I think is very important for us. Apart from that, I think there are challenges that every startup in the everywhere in the world are facing right now because of the global economic crisis. Starting from we are in the fundraising winter right now, right? So the problem is how right now in the past few years, as I mentioned, that we have been seeing a lot of startups who are 4 or 5 years old closing their Series A, B, and C in the past few years. But how we can help them to leverage on that kind of funding and trying to survive during these 2 years that we know exactly that there will be a lot of economic fluctuations coming. So we have to think about not just only how we can help them to thrive and help them to expand to other markets, but also in terms of funding, how we can provide more and more support in terms of the financing for the early growth startup as well. So that kind of funding will be very important. If we can ease them with this kind of funding, then they can focus on business or even turn the challenges into opportunities to expand abroad in this during this time of the global pandemic, global economic crisis.
Really, to expand abroad. Wow, that's interesting, and I do agree with you. A lot of economists are coming out that it's not the end, even though we're saying yes, definitely things are opening up, everything's getting better, but it's going to take probably up to almost maybe 2 years for things to stabilize. So, when we talk about that, in terms of things stabilizing, new things to support, even though the situation right now is not so positive, I'm so excited to ask you about the Thai government support for the tech ecosystem, because there's this case study that everyone's been talking about, and that is DEPA being the first Thai government agency to form a joint venture investment in digital startups with Globish, right? Can you tell us a little bit about this and how this came about?
Okay, that is one of the cases that we're trying to provide support to the ecosystem with the ever-changing challenges that we face. For example, that I already mentioned about how we can provide the bridge financing, or we can provide some of the financial resource to support the growth stage startup to be able to expand about. The Globish is one of the very first case that we trying to prove that with the mechanism that we have, that as a Thai government, if you are from abroad, you may not familiar with our legacy ecosystem, bureaucracy and those kind of the red tapes and those all the things that the Thai government agency have facing in the past. But as DEPA is, we are the one that just set up. We are also ourselves startup as well in the government. So we're trying to come up with a new mechanism to support the ecosystem. For example, like that I addressed about this kind of problem, how we can provide the pre-financing for early growth startup. So the Globish case is one of the signal that we want to send to the ecosystem, that as a Thai government, we see the problem, we understand the problem, we understand the situation, the challenges, and we try our best to help with the support. So that's why that's the first case. Globish has been supported by us for a long time, since they are in the pre-seed and seed stage level. And after they raise Series A's coming into the early growth stage, it's time for them to stay focused on their business and expand abroad. So that's just how our funding is very crucial and important for them during this time. So they can use that fund to expand their business abroad. They are already successful in Vietnam and trying to seize the third countries as well. They're trying to also pivoting their business to expand to other education solution as well, not just only providing English education. So that's how we decide to invest in them with join our hands with other leading investors in the country as well to provide the funding. And that's also to prove that as a Thai government agencies, even though we are facing a lot of challenges
Mhm.
ourselves in terms of all the regulations and rules, we try our best to come up with a new, mechanism to support the ecosystem to try to support the startup to the growth state as
You know,
well.
I don't know if listeners can see me smile, but I'm so happy that you're so honest with,
Yeah,
what really goes on in terms of working with the government. And thank you so much for being so honest and being to the point and facing the elephant in the building. So
right.
with this success with Globish, what does that say for future works from Deepa? How is it a case study for future similar cases for you?
Yeah, we have been still focused on very early stage startup. That's our mission
Mhm.
as a government agency. We have to fix this problem of not having a lot of startup into to into the deal flows to be investable by the VCs and investors. So we are still trying to come up with a solutions to solve some of the problems. And then also the early growth startup, we also trying to address more in terms of the internationalization of the Thai startup as well.
Mm,
That's one of the problem that I think all the ecosystem players see that problem as well. So with that, we trying to help them not just only in terms of funding, but also in terms of how we can help them to expand to other markets with the market expansion
mhm,
programs, working with our partners globally
mhm,
as well to help them to expand more and have a land in other territory as well. And then also as a government agency, we are not working alone. We're working with other ecosystem players. For example, we work with the revenue department. We work with the Digital Council of Thailand.
mm.
Uh, we just having a new regulations on capital gain tax for the startup in Thailand. So right now we are actually comparable to other countries in terms of if you are a startup who want to operate in Thailand, then you can enjoy this capital gain tax scheme. You It's tax free if
Mhm.
you are selling equity inside the nation in the kingdom. And then also other mechanism that we trying to work with our government, other government agencies as well as other stakeholders. For example, the government procurement is very important and very crucial mechanism to support, especially for the early stage startup, right? So how we can use government procurement and government markets as a booster for the startup, especially for the early stage one.
Mm.
Right now, the government already approved and waiting for the cabinet to approve the mechanism for the special remedies for supporting government procurement for startup, especially. So if you are a startup, you can you can then access to the government market more easily. That is something that we trying to address the problem, this kind of problem as
Mm.
well. Beyond that, also in terms of the standard of the product and service from startup, we work with, for example, like a Federation of Thai Industries to address some kind of problems to make the startup products and service up to the standard so that we can not just expand that kind of product and service and solutions in Thailand, but also internationally as well.
Wow, a lot, a lot. You would say that we're quite lucky to have you, Deepa, as well here in our ecosystem. Then for those who are interested, you say that there's a lot to be done for new startups, but again, there's a lot of challenges. How many? Do you have a number in your head of how many new startups we're seeing at the seed funding level emerging in Thailand, and how are you helping them? Uh, I mean, you already talked about helping, sorry, but maybe give us an overview of what sorts of startups we're seeing at the seed funding level first.
Yes, because of I think the also the impact of the COVID pandemic as
Mhm.
well, and also the ups and downs of the crypto world, I would say.
Yeah.
So right now we're starting to see a number of new graduates and also experienced entrepreneurs turn back to trying to find some of the very big pain points for them to solve.
Mm.
So after the 2 years during the pandemic and the booming of the crypto world, that we lost a lot of people to that world as well. I would like to we have to admit that
That's
that's
another
quite
elephant in
true
the room. Definitely,
at that
we should.
time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very good return at that time. So no one want to buy to file a startup at during last 2 years, but right now, luckily, it's not that big return
No,
anymore.
the good,
So
we need to be positive about that, right? I mean, at least it
yeah,
happened right away, and I snap my fingers there,
yeah,
and then now we can
yeah.
get back to work.
Right. But it's proof something,
Yeah.
It's proof that a lot of Thai talents can compete at the, global level, at the global stage. We have seen a lot of blockchain startup flourish during that time,
Mm,
and they have the I mean, global standard technologies. They can compete with any startup in the world in terms of the technologies. If you compare to our, for example, we in the Web 2 era,
mm,
we quite lost in terms of how we can catch up with the technology with the big firms, with tech, and or even the startup board. But for the Web 3 era, we have seen and we have already proved ourselves
mm,
that we have a number of Thai startups who are capable of competing internationally very easily. So that is something that I think very important during this time, that we can starting to catch up with the global trends, and we can be turn ourselves from the tech importers into the tech exporter as well. So this is quite challenging time for us, that we have Thai talents, we have people who are very knowledgeable, very capable of doing something, and this is the time that I think in many areas that people are talking about, whether it's be AI, whether it's be big data analytics, whether it be blockchain, whether it's be smart device and
mm,
IoT. These are areas that Thai startups and Thai entrepreneurs can compete at the global stage.
mm,
So I think it's quite a challenging time for us, how we can help them to start business easily in terms of ease of doing business, how we can provide enough funding for them at an early stage so they can compete later on, how we can uh, engage them with the international experience and understand the global pain points
mhm,
so they can work on something very meaningful
mm,
for them to build a business. So I think it's already proved something that we are capable of doing something.
mm.
And as a country, I think we have still have hopes in these kids and these talents to be able to start their business and try to address some of the big world challenging problems ahead of us.
No, one of the biggest challenges is the global downturn. So, what are some of the things that are happening right now with DEPA to support these startups to counter this the global economic downturn?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we also trying to help them with a lot of capacity building in the past few years as well. So we find that some of the Thai entrepreneurs, with even though they are very good at what they are working on, the solutions, but some of the other aspects, for example, like international experience, working in terms of how to manage people, how to manage things like legal and accounting and finance, they are not that at that good level. So we are working with them in terms of how we can provide this kind of preparation for them to be able to thrive at the later stage. And also, we have been working with ecosystem players like a Techsauce as
Hmm.
well, how we can help them to identify some of the challenges that they
Hmm.
face, and then help them in terms of not just only funding, but also in terms of the capacity building, networkings, uh, mentorships, working with corporates, how they can fine tune and find the common goals in terms of how they can working with corporates to thrive together. These are some of the secret sauce that I think is very important for us as a government agency who are working with all the stakeholders to help startup to be able to thrive. with using and leveraging all the resource that we have in the ecosystem.
It's definitely, I feel less uneased. I think I feel more optimism. Could I say that? I mean, even though we're going towards the end of this year, 2022, but after listening from what you said, it's very exciting to see what's going to happen next. So let's talk about 2023.
Right.
It's almost there. We're almost there. I can't believe it. Time flies. In addition to what you said, we have a lot of talent here in our kingdom. We've proved it. It's just what's the next step. So, what are the main startup trends that people should watch out for 2023?
Yeah, I would love to start to address that questions with the pain points. What are we are facing in the 2023, starting for things like shortage in labors and the labor supply and the problems that we face, not just only in Thailand, but also in the region, which is aging society. We know that we are entering already into the aging society and shortage of laborers. It's very definite that we have to invest in startups who are working on AI, robotics, and automation. That's one thing for sure that is coming for the next year. It's gonna be not just the AI for big companies like tech companies, but we are talking about AI in manufacturing. We are talking about AI in agriculture. We are talking about AI in service. So this kind of things will be becoming a big trend in the next few years. Also, because of the we live in the VUCA world, right? A lot of things happens like Russia-Ukraine war,
Yes.
things shortage. The problem that we're gonna face, for example, like a food shortage. Thailand is in a very good position how we can be really be a kitchen of the world using technology.
Again, but
But
with innovation.
Innovation. Yeah. So agriculture technology, food technology still be a very key, sectors for the countries in the next year, in the next few years as well. Energy crisis has posed a lot of challenges to the world, and we also have been doing good in some of the energy technology sector as well, energy efficiency, renewable energy. So that's, I think, is the trend that a lot of people will be looking for. A lot of corporates will be looking for startup in that area as well. The problem that we also faced during the pandemic and still facing right now is something like supply chain disruptions. This kind of problems will open up a lot of opportunities for startup who had this problem like traceability. That means that the next wave for the blockchain startup will be in logistics for sure. Starting from gaming, and then VR world, and then right now I think it's in financial world right now. It's gonna be in the logistics, which is next frontier for the blockchain startup. And definitely a lot of people are talking about sustainability, ESG, and that's something I think circular. That's also aligned with the goals of the country that startups who are working in this area in ESG, in terms of ESG, environmental, social, and governance, will find their ways to be able to grow to become a next unicorn for the country for sure.
Wow. I love that. We're all going to age, so we need some solutions. We also, in terms of sustainability and everything in that.
Right.
I mean, before we end our talk here, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are probably startups who are interested to gain more insight. And I'm sure, our listeners have already gained so much. But in addition to what you've said so far, what is your last, key, advice or guidance for startups that are listening right now?
Yeah, as I already mentioned in the previous answers, I think we are facing a lot of global challenges, big problems. So I think my advice is trying to focus that on the pain points that be enough to get your business going. So try to address big problems, even though you're starting from address some of the angles of that problems with a small scale solutions. But then you have to understand that you have to find and focus on the big problems. The second thing is that when startups start their business, there's always questions like whether SMEs versus startup thinking, those kind of things. I think it's important that you build a business, not startups. You focus on how business works, especially how you can grow your business. So that's very important for startup in Thailand. Understand these kind of things. Having a business skill like growth hacking will be very important in the next few years because of the difficulties of funding. So it's time to focus on your resource and also resource from the others. So if you can use the resource that the others already have and contact with them, that's definitely the best way to grow your business during the pandemic. And also focus more on international expansion. Internationalization is very important. We have a good size economy, but not big enough to get you to the unicorn. So start from day one,
Yeah.
think about international expansion, and then you will good to go.
Dr. Chinawut, I'm so happy I get to talk with you today. I think this is such a useful talk to anyone. If you're listening and you're like, oh wait, what? You can always rewind or go back to the beginning of our talk. I'm sure for
Right.
our listeners, they would have gotten so much from your advice and your guidance. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with us here today. Thank you so much for getting to the point, being very realistic about what are the challenges and of course, telling us the potential of what can be next for the Thai ecosystem. And I'm so excited. We're so excited to see what's next with Deepa as well. Thank you so much for being with us here today. ขอบคุณมากค่ะ
Thank you, Techsauce team as well. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
And this has been another episode of Techsauce Global Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on Techsauce Global Podcast. สวัสดีค่ะ
Techsauce, sparking innovative thoughts.